Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. It is February 4th, 2026. And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to do me a favor. Just take a quick look at your phone. Just glance at it. How many notifications do you have sitting there? How many unread emails? How many missed calls from numbers you didn't recognize, so you just let them ring out into the void?
If you're anything like me, or like most people, the answer is just too many. It's an overwhelming number.
Exactly. And that feeling, that slight overwhelming sense of too much noise is actually at the very center of our topic today. We are looking at a crisis that I think every professional is feeling right now, whether they want to admit it or not. We are officially in the age of the interruption crisis.
It sounds a little dramatic, doesn't it, the interruption crisis? But I mean, when you look at the stack of data we have for today, the term, it really fits. It fits perfectly. We're witnessing a fundamental breakdown in the way business, and specifically high-trust business, has traditionally been done. The old playbook, it's not just tired, it's broken.
And when we say the old playbook, we're talking about the grind, that boiler room mentality. Cold calling until your ear is hot and your spirit is broken.
Yeah.
Knocking on doors during dinner time, praying someone doesn't sick a dog on you, sending out thousands of those glossy flyers that, go straight from the mailbox to the recycling bin.
They don't even get a second glance. It's the spray and pray method.
Yeah.
And the sources we have today, which are this really fascinating mix of psychology, tech, and industry reports, are basically all screaming one thing.
What's that?
That era is dead. It is not just dying, it's over.
But here's the catch, and this is why we're doing this deep dive. People are still doing it. Sales managers are still telling their teams to do it. So our mission today is to figure out, okay, why did it stop working? And more importantly, what replaces it? The sources are calling it the relational digital shift.
Which is a bit of a buzzword, I'll admit.
It is a mouthful, but what does it actually mean?
It really boils down to something very simple. It's about moving from a transactional mindset, where you're basically hunting for strangers, to a relational one. It's about attracting clients through trust, through technology, and honestly, through a much deeper understanding of human psychology.
And we have a massive stack of research to get through to explain how this works. We have a case study on a German real estate agent named Annika from a platform called Pedra. Her story is, I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you. We have legal marketing guides from Samson Consulting. So we're looking at this from a lawyer's perspective, too. We have deep psychological insights from a group called Lead Geeks, and then some very, very heavy tech playbooks from Media Valet and Matterport.
It's a great mix because we're going to cover the human brain, like why we ignore things, but also the robots that are trying to help us break through that very barrier.
So here's the key question I want to pose to you and to our listener before we really get into the weeds. We know that cold calling is failing. We know that buyers are drowning in information. So how do you actually get someone to stop scrolling, put their phone down, and trust you with what might be the biggest financial decision of their life?
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer, I think, it starts with accepting some really brutal math about that cold approach.
Let's start there then. Section 1, the death of the cold approach. We have a transcript here from a YouTube video by a real estate coach named Stephanie Lugo, and let me tell you, she comes out swinging. She calls the conversion rates for cold calling trash.
Yeah, she does not mince words. And the data, it backs her up completely. She cites a conversion rate of less than 1%.
Less than 1%. I mean, let's just contextualize that for a second. If I sit down and decide to make calls for an hour,
you are, in all likelihood, engaging with 0 people who actually want to speak with you. You might get a few hellos, but in terms of a meaningful business conversation, it's a ghost town.
It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over. But you still hear this numbers game fallacy. I hear it all the time from sales managers. It's just a numbers game. Just make more calls. If you dial 100 people, one will say yes.
And look, that logic might have been true 20 years ago, but Stephanie's point, and it's a really valid one, is about the labor cost. Do you actually have 3 or 4 hours a day to just donate to a task that yields almost nothing? It's an economic black hole. You're spending highly skilled time you could be using to, negotiate deals or serve your actual clients on this low-skill labor that just, it yields nothing.
And that's all assuming you can even get through. We have to talk about the technology barrier, because in 2026, the phone itself is the enemy of the cold caller.
Right. The spam blockers on our phones, the ones that are just built into iOS and Android, are incredibly sophisticated now. They use machine learning to identify call patterns. If a single number is dialing hundreds of people a day, it gets flagged.
Oh, absolutely. My phone doesn't even ring half the time. It just gives me a little notification later that says silenced fraud risk.
Mm.
And I look at it and I think, good job, phone.
Exactly. So if you're the one cold calling, you aren't just fighting a lack of interest anymore. You are fighting an algorithm that is literally designed to silence you. But what I find even more fascinating is the psychological side of this. We've got this report from Lead Geeks that explains why people don't answer, even if the call actually does get through.
Yeah, this part was eye-opening for me because I think a lot of agents, a lot of professionals, they take it so personally. They think, oh, people are so rude these days, or why is everyone so hostile?
But Lead Geeks argues it's not hostility at all, it's cognitive overload.
Let's unpack that. What's happening in the buyer's brain when that unknown number pops up on their screen?
Well, just think about the sheer volume of information the modern brain has to process every single hour. You've got ads, emails, texts, news feeds, Slack messages, TikToks. The brain has evolved a defense mechanism to handle this onslaught. It's a filter.
Like a bouncer at a club.
Exactly like a bouncer. And this bouncer is aggressive. It's not polite. When a new input comes in, a phone number you don't know, a subject line that looks even a little bit salesy, the bouncer checks it against a sort of survival filter. Is this relevant to my immediate survival or happiness? Is it clear? Is it low effort?
And if the answer is just, I don't know who this is, the bouncer just throws it out.
Instantly. It's a no response default. The source actually says that if the brain has to spend even 5 seconds trying to figure out who you are and why you're interrupting its day, you're deleted. It's what they call attention scarcity. We simply do not have the bandwidth to be polite to strangers anymore.
So, okay, we've got the tech blocking the call and then the brain blocking the message. It's a two-front war you can't win. And we have this data from Century 21 here that really puts the final nail in the coffin for these high-trust industries.
This is such a critical distinction because if you're selling, I don't know, a $20 widget or a subscription box, maybe an interruption still works. But for these really high-trust transactions, buying a home, hiring a lawyer, Century 21 found that less than 3% of consumers choose their provider based on direct, unsolicited contact.
3%. So you're saying 97% of the market is effectively immune to cold calling.
Correct. You're fishing in a tiny puddle that contains 3% of the fish, and those fish are probably pretty annoyed that you're even there. Meanwhile, the ocean, where 61% of the business comes from, that's all referrals and repeat business.
Which brings us right back to that relational shift idea. Why do referrals work so well when cold calls fail? I mean, it seems obvious, but let's look at the why behind it.
Well, Century 21 lists 2 fundamental truths in their report. Truth number 1, people instinctively refer good things. It's a form of social currency. If I tell you about a great new restaurant and you go there and you love it, my status in your eyes actually goes up a little. I was the one who knew the spot.
Right. I trust your taste. You provided value to me just by sharing it.
Exactly. And then there's truth number 2. People intuitively ask for referrals when the stakes are high. If you need heart surgery, you don't just click "I'm feeling lucky" on Google. You ask a doctor friend who's the best. Real estate and law are exactly the same. The risk of making a bad decision is just too high to trust some stranger who cold called you during dinner.
So the logic is it's undeniable. Stop chasing that tiny 3% and start cultivating the massive 61%.
Yeah.
But, and here's the friction point for me. Even if I get a referral, let's say my friend tells me, you have to use this agent, she's amazing. The very next thing I'm going to do is look her up online.
Of course. It's the digital vetting process. It's just automatic now.
I'm going to stalk her on Instagram, check out her website, maybe look for her on YouTube. And this brings us right into section 2, the credibility crisis. Because if I look her up and what I see looks amateurish, that referral might die right there on the spot.
This is the concept of the visual baseline. And we have a perfect case study for this from Pedra. It's about a German real estate agent named Annika.
I really resonated with Annika's story because it's all about the DIY trap. And I think so many professionals, not just agents, fall right into this.
Oh, it's very common. Annika isn't lazy. That's the important thing to remember here. She knew video was the future. She knew she needed to be on social media, so she did what all the gurus tell you to do. She grabbed her smartphone and started filming property tours herself.
And we could all picture these videos. We've all seen them.
Oh, absolutely.
The shaky footage because she's walking too fast. The lighting is adjusting wildly as she goes from a dark hallway to a bright bedroom, so it just blows out the windows.
Yeah, or maybe you catch a little glimpse of her thumb over the lens for a second. Or the angle is just weirdly low.
And the audio. The echoey footsteps in an empty house.
Ah.
It honestly sounds more like a horror movie than a home tour.
Precisely. Now, Annika probably thought she was being authentic. She thought, look, I'm putting myself out there. But the source argues that for a high-trust professional, this wasn't just ineffective, it was actively damaging her brand.
Because it signals incompetence.
It signals a lack of care, a lack of professionalism. If a potential seller looks at that shaky, poorly lit video, they don't think, oh, she's trying her best. They think, this is how she markets $1 million product. If she treats my most valuable asset with this lack of detail, how is she going to handle the contract? How is she going to negotiate on my behalf?
That's brutal. But it makes so much sense. It's not just bad marketing. It's a bad trust signal.
It creates doubt, and doubt kills deals before they even start. So Annika did what many people do in that situation. She just stopped. She felt the embarrassment, she felt the friction of how hard it was, and she just retreated.
Which is the absolute worst possible outcome in visibility.
Exactly. So how did she fix it? Well, the case study details her shift to what they call a fixed workflow. She stopped trying to be a filmmaker.
She removed the human element, specifically herself, from the actual production side of things.
Right. She used a platform, in this case it was Pedra, where the workflow was just completely simplified. She would upload the high-quality photos, which she already had from a professional photographer, and then the software just took over. It applied her branding, it added the text overlays, it handled all the transitions, it even generated the voiceover.
So it created a professional baseline.
I love that term, a professional baseline.
Yeah.
It ensures that the floor of quality is always high. You physically cannot create a bad video because the system prevents it.
And the numbers in the case study were just wild. She went from spending 3 to 4 hours filming and editing one kind of messy video
to 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes to generate a completely polished one.
And as a result, her output went up by 500%.
Yeah, from 2 videos a month to 12. But for me, the most important metric wasn't even the output, it was the completion rate. Her old DIY videos had a 42% completion rate. People were getting bored or annoyed and just clicking off. The automated videos, 78%.
That is massive. It just proves that people want information presented clearly and professionally. They don't need some cinema verite shaky cam. They just need to see the house.
Consistency builds trust. If every single digital touch point I have with you looks polished, I'm going to assume that you are polished.
Now, speaking of polished visuals, we absolutely have to talk about the heavy hitter in this tech stack, Matterport. We've all seen the 3D tours, the dollhouse view where you can spin the house around. But the source from Matterport suggests this isn't just a cool gimmick anymore.
No, not at all. It's rapidly becoming the standard. Ben Goldberg from Matterport is quoted in the source saying that 62% of buyers now say a virtual tour is the most important factor in their home search.
More important than still photos.
Apparently so. And if you really think about it, it kind of makes sense. Photos can lie.
Oh, absolutely. The classic wide-angle lens that makes a tiny closet look like a ballroom. We've all been catfished by real estate photos.
Right. But a 3D tour is what they call a digital twin. You can't hide a weird layout in a 3D scan. You can't hide the fact that the kitchen is actually a tiny galley. It offers a level of transparency that photos just can't match. It allows the buyer to actually measure walls, check floor plans.
They have this new feature mentioned in their 2025 guide called defurnishing. And I have to ask, isn't that kind of lying?
It's an interesting ethical line, isn't it? It uses AI to digitally remove all the furniture from a space. So if you have a seller who hasn't moved out yet and their house is just full of clutter, old sofas, boxes, general mess, the software can wipe it clean to show the raw space underneath.
That's like magic. It's incredible.
The source calls it optimization. You aren't changing the walls or the view, you're just removing the distraction. The argument is that this helps buyers visualize themselves in the space, which is the whole goal of a showing anyway.
And the stat that really blew my mind from that guide, 71% of home shoppers said they would be willing to make an offer after just viewing a 3D tour.
That is the power of the digital twin. It builds enough certainty and enough trust to get someone to sign a contract, potentially without ever stepping foot in the actual door.
So, okay, we've got agents cleaning up their visual act with automation and 3D scans. But I want to pivot now to a different profession that is struggling with this relational shift, perhaps even more. Solicitors.
Yes, the legal profession. A very different world.
We have this guide from Samson Consulting about consultant solicitors. Now, first off, can you define that for us? How is a consultant solicitor different from a normal lawyer?
So traditionally, a solicitor works for a law firm, gets a salary, and the firm feeds them work. They just do the law part. A consultant solicitor is more entrepreneurial. They work under a firm's umbrella for things like compliance and insurance, but they are essentially self-employed. They have to eat what they kill.
So if they don't bring in their own clients, they don't get paid.
Exactly. The marketing pressure is entirely on their shoulders, and Samson Consulting argues that most of them are doing it completely wrong.
They talk about the Bland Brand website.
The Bland Brand. You can picture it immediately, can't you? A website with a stock photo of a gavel, maybe a handshake, or a pen signing a document. And the text is something completely generic, like, "We are committed to excellence and integrity."
We provide bespoke legal solutions.
It means nothing. It's utterly generic. It proves nothing. It's what Samson calls an online brochure. He argues that instead, you need a lead generation website, a site that answers a very specific question, proves your expertise with real case studies, and compels a specific action.
So instead of a homepage that says, "We do family law," it should be "Divorcing a narcissist. Here's what you absolutely need to know."
Exactly. Solve the problem right there on the page.
But interestingly, for the consultant who's just starting out, the quickest win in the guide isn't digital at all. It's about going back to your sphere of influence.
This is the part that makes most people sweat, reconnecting with old contacts.
It's just so awkward. You haven't spoken to someone in 5 years, and suddenly you're calling them. It feels like you're trying to sign them up for an MLM.
And that's the danger. Samson warns specifically against what he calls the desperate dial.
The, "Hi, I need money, please hire me" call.
Right. "Hey, long time no see. Do you happen to have any legal work for me?" That just kills the relationship instantly. It triggers that survival filter we talked about earlier. It's purely transactional and feels gross.
So how do you do it without being that guy?
You have to flip the script entirely. The mantra is clients first. You reconnect with genuine interest. You ask for a coffee just to catch up on their life. You send a soft update about what you're doing now, but you frame it as how you might be able to help them or their contacts down the line.
It's playing the long game.
It is. And once you have those contacts re-engaged, Samson says the absolute king of marketing for lawyers is email.
Not TikTok. No dancing while pointing at text bubbles about contract law.
Laughs. No. And this is where that industry nuance really matters. If I'm hired a lawyer for something serious, I want someone serious. I'm not looking for my accountant on Snapchat. Samson is very, very anti-social media for lawyers. He calls it interruption marketing of the worst kind.
That's a fair point. I don't really want my criminal defense attorney doing the latest viral trend.
Yeah.
I kind of want them reading case law.
Exactly. But email is professional, it's intimate, but it's respectful. He tells the story of Jacqueline Emerson, who built an email list of 1,000 people in just 4 months.
Just by asking them.
By systematically adding every past client, every professional contact, and all her friends. And then, and this is the key, sending a simple monthly newsletter. Nothing spammy, just updates, some interesting legal news, helpful tips.
It keeps you top of mind.
Precisely. Because legal needs are so sporadic. I might not need a lawyer today. But in 2 years, when I'm buying a house or writing a will, who am I going to call? The person who's been sending me helpful, no-pressure emails every month, or the person I haven't heard a peep from in a decade?
It's boring, but it's profitable.
Boring and profitable is a fantastic business model for any high-trust industry.
Okay, so we've established that cold calling is dead, and we should be focusing on warm referrals and email lists. But let's be real for a second. Sometimes you have to reach out to someone you don't know. Maybe it's a BDB partner or a specific high-value lead. You can't just sit back and wait for the phone to ring all the time.
That's true. Outbound isn't illegal. It's just very, very hard to do right.
So how do we do it without triggering that delete reflex in their brain? This brings us to Section 4 and the psychology of warm outreach. Lead Geeks has some fascinating insights here about what they call the relevance gap.
The relevance gap, it's the distance between what you want to talk about, your product, your features, your company awards, and what the buyer actually cares about, which is their pain, their deadline, their budget.
And most cold emails fall right into that gap.
They dive headfirst into it. "Hi, I'm from XYZ Corp. We are the leading provider of," and boom, delete. The buyer does not care about your company. They only care about their own problems.
So how do you bridge that gap?
You have to establish what they call microtrust in the first 1 or 2 lines.
Microtrust. I like that concept. It's not asking them to marry you. It's just asking them to listen to me for 10 seconds.
Exactly. And Lead Geek suggests a simple framework for this called 1 problem, 1 sentence, 1 question.
Okay, walk us through that. Give me a concrete example so I can really visualize it.
All right. Let's say you're selling some kind of sales training software to a company. First, the problem. You identify something real and observable. I noticed on LinkedIn you're hiring for a new head of sales. That's a fact. Next, the sentence. You provide context and infer a pain point. Usually when I see that, it means a company is struggling to ramp up new reps quickly. That connects the fact to a potential problem. Finally, the question. You ask for permission, not a meeting. Would you be open to seeing a playbook on how our clients speed that up?
That is actually readable. It doesn't feel like a pitch, doesn't make my skin crawl.
It feels like a consultation. You noticed a fact, you inferred a problem, and you offered a potential solution. You're being helpful, not needy.
And the ask is so small. Are you open to seeing this? It's such a low-friction question. It's not, can I have 30 minutes of your valuable time next Tuesday?
Never, ever ask for time in the first email. Time is the most expensive thing you can ask for. But asking, are you open to this idea, is cheap. It's easy for them to say sure to that.
This connects directly to their point about personalization versus decoration. I thought this was such a sharp and useful distinction.
Oh, it's a super common mistake. People think personalization means stalking someone's LinkedIn and finding some random, unrelated fact. I saw you went to the University of Florida. Go Gators.
Yeah, sellers. I see you like pizza. Hey, I also like pizza. We should talk.
Exactly. Unless you were actually selling Gator merchandise or pizza, that is what LidGeeks calls decoration. It just proves you can use Google, but it doesn't prove you can help me do my job better. It feels manipulative and a little bit creepy.
So what is true personalization then?
True personalization connects directly to their workflow or business reality. I saw your company just switched its CRM to HubSpot, or I noticed you just opened a new office in Austin. That's relevant to the business. It signals professional competence, not just flattery.
It's professional relevance.
And they also talk about using safety signals, using language that actively lowers the pressure on the recipient. Phrases like, would you be opposed to, or if you're unsure, no worries at all.
It gives the person an out. It makes it easy to say no.
Which, paradoxically, makes them more likely to say yes. When you back a scared animal into a corner, it's going to bite. When you give it an open door, it relaxes. We're just treating the prospect like a human being with a brain that is actively trying to protect itself from interruptions.
We're working with the brain's filters, not trying to smash through them with a sledgehammer.
Perfectly put. That's exactly it.
Okay, let's pivot to section 5. We've talked a lot about the human connection. We've talked about psychology. Now I want to talk about the robots again, because this relational digital shift isn't just about being nice. It's also about being fast.
Speed is a form of service. In 2026, consumer patience is effectively at zero.
We have the Media Valet AI playbook here,
Yeah.
and they drop a stat that is, honestly, it's terrifying for anyone who likes to take a lunch break.
It's the 5-minute rule. Leads that are contacted within 5 minutes of submitting an online form are 100 times, not 100%, 100 times more likely to convert than those contacted after just 30 minutes.
That's just an exponential decay into nothingness.
It is. After 30 minutes, that lead has mentally moved on. They've clicked the next link on Google. They've probably forgotten they even filled out your form. Or worse, they've already spoken to your competitor who did call back in 5 minutes.
But here's the problem. Agents are humans. Solicitors are humans. They sleep, they eat, they have families. You cannot be awake 24/7 just waiting for a lead to ping your inbox.
And that is the fundamental conflict, right? The market demands 20/47 responsiveness, but our biology demands sleep.
So enter the always-on agent.
This is where AI stops being a gimmick and starts being an essential employee. We're not talking about replacing the agent. We're talking about cloning their responsiveness.
Let's look at the tools mentioned here. We have CallRail's Voice Assist. What is that?
This is fascinating. It's essentially an AI receptionist, but it's not the old press one for sales. It's fully conversational. It answers the call with a human-like voice. It speaks. It asks questions. Hi, thanks for calling. Are you looking to buy or sell a property?
So it qualifies the lead for you.
It qualifies, and this is the real kicker. It can schedule an appointment directly onto your calendar based on your availability.
So you could be fast asleep at 3 a.m., and you could wake up to find 3 new qualified appointments on your calendar for the next day.
Correct. And the source says that businesses using this kind of tech saw a 40% increase in answered calls. Just think about how much money is lost every day simply because the phone rang out to voicemail.
And let's be honest, voicemail is where leads go to die. I don't leave voicemails anymore. I just hang up and call the next number on the list.
Exactly. If you don't answer, for all intents and purposes, you don't exist.
Then there's this thing called conversation intelligence. This sounds a little bit like Big Brother is watching.
It is a little bit. This is AI that listens to the calls you do take. It records them, transcribes them, and then analyzes the conversation.
What's it looking for?
It's looking for keywords, for intent. Did the caller say the words pre-approved? Did they mention selling soon? It also looks for sentiment. Did they sound angry or happy or confused?
So it can actually measure the emotional tone of the call.
Yes. So if you're a busy agent who takes 50 calls in a week, the AI can generate a report that says, these are the 5 people who are ready to buy now. Call them first.
It just prioritizes your entire day for you. It's like having a sales manager sitting next to you, taking meticulous notes on every single call.
It creates a powerful feedback loop. You can go back and see where you might have messed up or where you missed a key buying signal or an objection.
And then, of course, the chatbots we see everywhere. TDO, Drift, those little pop-ups.
The goal with all of this is to create the new open house that never ever closes. The digital front door is always unlocked, and there is always someone or something there to greet you the second you walk in.
It just captures the lead before they have a chance to bounce to a competitor's site.
Exactly. Stop the bleeding.
But, and this is a big but, for me, if everyone starts to adopt this, if every agent has an AI receptionist, and every lawyer has a great website, and everyone uses 3D tours and automated videos, don't we just reach a new stalemate? How do you stand out then?
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important piece of the puzzle. Section 6. When the technology becomes commoditized, when everyone has the same tools, the only differentiator left is you.
Personal branding.
Matterport's 2025 guide really emphasizes this, the need for what they call an authentic persona.
Because people can sniff out a fake from a mile away.
Instantly. If you sound like a corporate press release, or if your AI-generated content sounds too robotic, you're just more noise. The guide gives this great little example of Alex Young from a company called the Bowtie Group.
The Bowtie Group.
Yes, he just leans into a personal quirk. He wears bow ties, he puts them in his email signature and his logo.
It sounds a little silly.
It does sound silly, but it's a hook. It's memorable. It signals that maybe he's approachable, maybe he's a bit fun. It separates him from the giant army of other agents in identical blue suits. It makes him memorable.
And then there's the concept of content as service. This circles all the way back to being relational. You're not just posting just sold graphics all day.
Right. The look at me, I'm so great post. That's purely transactional. Content as service is all about, here's something that helps you.
Like the example of Kathy Fetka.
Right. The Real Estate News for Investors podcast. She isn't trying to sell a specific house in every single episode. She's educating. She's interpreting the market. She is positioning herself as the authority.
So that when one of her listeners is finally ready to buy an investment property, who are they going to call?
The person who taught them everything they know. It's the principle of reciprocity. You give away valuable knowledge for free to earn trust.
Matterport also suggests something that I think scares a lot of people. Niching down.
The jack of all trades, master of none problem.
I help everyone buy anything, anywhere.
Which really means you help no one particularly well. The source mentions a group called the Epitome of Real Estate. They focus their entire business specifically on rent-to-own properties.
That is a very, very specific slice of the market.
It is. But by owning that tiny slice, they became the absolute go-to experts for it. If you have a question about rent-to-own, you call them. You don't call the generalist who does a little bit of everything.
It's the paradox of specificity, isn't it? By trying to appeal to fewer people, you actually become more attractive to the right people.
Specificity builds credibility. Generalities just breed skepticism.
So let's try to bring all of this together for the listener. We've covered a lot of ground today. We've gone from the absolute death of cold calling, that 1% conversion rate, to the psychology of the survival filter in our brains.
We talked about the visual baseline, how that agent Annika used automation to fix her personal brand.
We talked about solicitors reconnecting with old friends without being creepy about it. We talked about establishing micro-trust in a cold email.
And we talked about the AI receptionists who handle the need for speed.
It really is a complete ecosystem shift. I'd call it the credibility equation.
That's a great way to frame it. Whether you're a solicitor sending out a simple newsletter or a real estate agent using a high-tech 3D tour, the goal is exactly the same. It's to reinforce trust. It is to prove before you ever even speak to the client that you are competent, you are modern, and you are reliable.
It's shifting from interruption, just bothering people, to attraction, being the obvious choice when they need you.
And that requires that professional baseline across everything you do, your video, your website, your response time. You can't have a leaky bucket anywhere.
So for the listener who's tuning in, maybe they're an agent, maybe they're a consultant, maybe they're just trying to sell an idea to their boss. What is the one thing they should take away from this entire deep dive?
I think it's this. Stop fearing the technology. I know AI and video can be intimidating. I know it feels safer to just pick up the phone and start dialing because that's what you know how to do.
It's the devil you know.
It is. But the alternative, the soul-crushing grind of cold calling, the deafening silence of the relevance gap, the slow slide into irrelevance, is so much worse. Use the tools to handle the noise. Use the fixed workflows. Use the AI receptionists.
Why? What's the end goal?
So that you have the time and the mental energy left to actually be human. Because that is the premium product now.
That leads perfectly to our closing thought.
Yeah. I want to leave you with this idea. In a world where AI can write your property listings, schedule your calls, analyze the sentiment of your conversations, and even digitally stage homes, the human connection becomes the scarcity. It becomes the luxury good. But you cannot deliver that luxury service if you are bogged down doing admin work that a machine could do better and faster. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you using technology to hide from your clients? Or are you using it to clear the deck so you can actually get closer to them?
That is something to chew on. Technology is a bridge, not a barrier.
Exactly.
Well, that wraps up another deep dive. We hope you're walking away with some actionable ideas to shift from being transactional to being truly relational. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Take care.